The alien Empress looked at the human and remembered. It was you. The chamber of the Virelian throne was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling rose like a night sky made of black crystal, threaded with slow-moving lights that copied distant stars. Tall alien nobles stood in silent rows, their shapes strange and powerful, their eyes fixed on the lone figure at the center of the floor. He was human. He wore no armor, no weapons, and no symbols of rank. His clothes were simple, dark, and worn from travel. His hands rested calmly at his sides. He did not kneel. He did not bow. He simply stood and waited. Many in the chamber felt insulted by that alone. At the far end, upon a living throne grown from silver stone and light, sat the Empress of the Virelian dominion. She was ancient by any measure, her presence heavy with authority earned through centuries of conquest and survival. Her eyes, glowing faintly with inner energy, studied the human in silence. This was supposed to be a simple moment. The human species was considered minor, weak, recently emerged onto the galactic stage and already pushed to its edges. Their worlds were few, their fleets were outdated, their biology was fragile. The Dominion had allowed this meeting only as a formality, a last courtesy before decisions were made that would end humanity's influence forever. The human had been brought here to listen, not to speak. Yet as the Empress looked at him, something inside her shifted. It was not fear, it was not anger, it was recognition. Her breath slowed, though no one noticed. Her claws tightened slightly against the arm of her throne. The human's face was unremarkable by galactic standards: soft skin, two forward-facing eyes, short hair touched with gray. And yet, the longer she looked, the louder a distant echo became in her mind. She had seen this face before. That thought was impossible. Humans lived short lives. Even the longest-lived among them faded like sparks compared to the long arcs of empires. The Empress had ruled for over 300 cycles. The memory pushing against her mind was far older than that, and yet it would not leave. The Grand Herald stepped forward, his voice sharp and formal as it echoed through the chamber. Empress Eternal, the human envoy stands before you. He brings words from the fractured councils of his species. The Empress raised one clawed hand. Silence fell instantly. Her eyes never left the human. "What is your name?" she asked. The human answered without hesitation. His voice was steady, respectful, but not afraid. "My name is Elia's Ward." The sound of it struck her like a blade, not the name itself, but the way it was spoken. The tone, the calm certainty beneath it. Her memory cracked open. She saw fire. She saw a sky torn apart by orbital bombardment, a world dying beneath alien fleets not her own. She remembered pain, hunger, and the cold certainty of death pressing in from all sides. She remembered being younger then, not an empress, not even a ruler. Just a commander with a broken ship and a shattered crew, stranded on a hostile planet after betrayal by allies she trusted. She remembered lying among the wreckage, her armor cracked, her blood soaking into foreign soil. And she remembered a human. The Empress leaned forward slightly, her voice lower now. "How old are you, human?" There was a ripple of surprise among the nobles. Age was irrelevant. This was not protocol. Elias answered anyway. "Physically, 42 years." A murmur spread through the chamber. 42 was nothing, barely an adult by many species standards. The Empress felt her thoughts spinning. 42 years could not bridge centuries, unless... She dismissed the thought before it could finish forming. "You claim to speak for your species," she said. "Why have you come?" Elias met her gaze. Many before him had looked away under that stare. He did not. "Because humanity is about to be erased," he said simply. "And because you are the only one who can stop it." That earned open reactions, hisses of offense, clicks of anger. Some nobles leaned forward, eager to see the human punished for his audacity. The Empress raised her hand again. "Explain." Elias took a slow breath. "The Galactic Council believes humanity has no value, no strength, No future. They see only our losses, our retreat, our silence. They think we are finished. He paused, choosing his words carefully. They are wrong. The Empress watched his face as he spoke. Every expression felt familiar. The way he stood, shoulders straight despite overwhelming pressure. The way his eyes never begged. She remembered standing over him once, weapon in hand, suspicious and desperate. She remembered his words then too. "I won't leave you," he had said, even as the sky burned. Her heart, hardened by centuries of rule, skipped a beat. "You speak boldly for a species on the edge of collapse," she said. Elias nodded. "Yes, because we've been there before." That was when she knew, not certainty, not proof, but the memory was too strong to ignore. She stood. The chamber froze. The Empress of the Virean Dominion rarely rose during audiences. When she did, it meant judgment or death. She descended the steps of her throne slowly, each movement controlled. Her guards tensed, ready to strike at the slightest signal. She stopped only a few steps away from Elias. Up close, the resemblance was undeniable, not exact, not identical, but something deeper than appearance connected them. "You look at me," she said quietly, "as if you are not afraid." Elias answered honestly, "I am afraid. But fear has never stopped us." Her claws trembled. She reached out. Gasps echoed as the Empress touched the human's forehead lightly with one claw, a gesture no outsider had ever received. Images flooded her mind. A human dragging her from wreckage. A human sharing water he desperately needed. A human standing alone against creatures that should have torn him apart. A human bleeding, smiling through pain, saying, "You'll live, that's enough." She pulled her hand back sharply. The chamber held its breath. Her voice when she spoke carried something no one had heard before. Shock. "Clear the hall," the Empress commanded. The Grand Herald hesitated. "Empress, now." The nobles filed out, confused and alarmed. Guards sealed the chamber doors, leaving only the Empress and the human within the vast room. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then the Empress whispered words she had not spoken aloud in centuries. "It was you." Elias tilted his head slightly. "Yes," he said. "I was hoping you would remember." Her eyes widened. "How?" she demanded. "Humans cannot live that long." He smiled faintly, not with pride, but with something closer to sadness. "Individually, no," he said. "But humanity learned a long time ago that survival isn't about the body." She felt the weight of his words settle slowly. "You saved my life," she said. He nodded. "You saved mine too, later, in ways you never knew." The Empress stepped back, her world shifting. The galaxy believed humans were weak because they measured strength the wrong way. And she, the most powerful ruler among them, had nearly made the same mistake. Outside the sealed chamber, fleets moved and plans formed that would decide the fate of humanity. Inside, an ancient debt awakened, and for the first time in centuries, the Empress felt something dangerous growing within her. Hope. The silence inside the throne chamber felt heavier than the walls themselves. The Empress stood several steps away from Elias, her thoughts moving faster than fleets at warp. Memories she had locked away for centuries now stood fully awake, sharp and clear. She turned from him and walked slowly toward the tall crystal window behind the throne. Beyond it, the capital world of the Virean Dominion glowed with endless lights. Cities spread like living patterns across the surface, proof of an empire that believed itself eternal. "Do you understand what you are claiming?" she asked without turning back. "If you are who you say you are, then everything we believe about humans is wrong." Elias did not rush his answer. "Not everything," he said. "We are still fragile, we still die, we still fail, but we learn to carry ourselves forward when bodies could not." The Empress closed her eyes. She remembered the planet clearly now. A dead world orbiting a fading star, its surface torn apart by war not its own. Her ship had fallen from the sky, burning, systems failing, crew dead or scattered. She had crawled from the wreckage, certain she would not survive the night. Then a human voice had called out through smoke and fire. Back then, she had pointed her weapon at him, ready to kill rather than trust. He had been thin, wounded, bleeding from a deep cut along his side. He should have run, he did not. "I won't hurt you," he had said, "but if you stay there, you'll die." That memory now stood between them like a ghost. She opened her eyes and faced him again. "You died on that world," she said slowly. "I saw you fall. I felt your life fade." Elias nodded. "That version of me did." A sharp breath escaped her. "Explain," she demanded. He took a step closer, careful not to cross the invisible line between subject and ruler. "Humanity reached a wall," he said. "Early on, disease, war, extinction-level events. We realized something simple. If survival depended on one body, we would always lose." The Empress listened, silent. "So we changed the question," Elias continued. "Instead of asking how long one human could live, we asked how long an idea could live." He tapped his chest lightly. "Memories, skills, purpose. We learned how to pass them on, not as stories that fade, but as living guidance. Each generation carries pieces of those who came before." Her eyes narrowed. "You are not the same individual," she said. "No," Elias replied, "but I am the same promise." She turned away again, struggling with the weight of it. Many species chased immortality, cloned bodies, digital minds trapped in machines. Most failed or lost themselves. Humans had chosen something else: continuity. "You remembered me," she said quietly. "Yes." "How?" Elias looked up at the ceiling as if searching through time. "Because you mattered," he said. "Some moments shape everything that comes after. Saving you wasn't just kindness, it changed history." She laughed once, bitter and soft. "I went on to conquer worlds," she said. "I built an empire. I ended wars and started others, and you call that kindness?" He met her gaze. "I call it survival," he said, "and responsibility." She studied him closely. "You did not come here only to remind me of the past," she said. "You want something." "Yes," Elias answered, "protection." The word hung in the air. "For humanity?" she asked. "For the future," he said. "Humanity's and everyone else's." Her claws flexed. "You are asking me to stand against the Galactic Council," she said. "They see humans as a risk, unstable, unpredictable." He smiled faintly. "They are right," he said. "That's why we matter." Outside the chamber, alarms sounded faintly in the distance, far beyond the sealed doors. The Empress felt it through the structure of the palace, through the flow of information moving across her empire. "Speak," she ordered. "The council has already voted," Elias said. "Containment fleets are moving, not to conquer, to erase. They believe quiet destruction will prevent future problems." Her eyes burned. "They did not inform me." "They believe you would oppose it," Elias said, "and they are afraid of that." She turned sharply. "Afraid," she repeated. "Yes," he said, "because deep down they remember too. Every time humans were underestimated, every time we were pushed into a corner." She felt anger rising, hot and dangerous. "How much time?" she asked. "Less than one standard cycle," Elias said. "Once the first strike begins, there will be no stopping it." The Empress walked back to her throne but did not sit. Instead, she rested one hand against it, steadying herself. "If I intervene," she said, "I risk civil war within my own empire." Elias did not argue. "If I do nothing," she continued, "your species dies." "Yes," she looked at him, "you would sacrifice peace for survival." "We already have," he replied, "many times." She searched his face for manipulation, fear, desperation. She found none. "Why come to me?" she asked at last. "Why not fight?" A shadow passed over his eyes. "Because fighting alone is how we lose," he said. "And because you remember who we are when no one else does." That struck deeper than any threat. She turned away, activating a private channel with a gesture. Data streams appeared in the air, fleet movements, council communications, projections of human extinction. Everything confirmed his words. "You brought no weapons," she said quietly. "No," Elias agreed. "Just truth." She ended the channel and faced him again. "You understand," she said, "that if I act, the galaxy will change, forever." Yes, he said, that is why we came. She took a long breath. Leave this chamber, she ordered. You will be escorted to secure quarters. No one is to harm you. Elias inclined his head slightly. Thank you. As guards entered to escort him away, he paused at the door. You once told me something, he said. On that dead world, her eyes lifted. You said empires rise and fall, he continued. But debts remain. The doors closed behind him. The Empress stood alone. For centuries she had ruled by strength, logic, and fear. Now an ancient debt pulled at her harder than any enemy ever had. She moved back to the window, watching the stars. The galaxy believed humanity was weak. They were wrong. And soon, everyone would remember why. The war room beneath the Virelian palace was alive with motion. Holographic maps filled the air, showing stars, systems, and moving fleets marked in sharp lines of light. Officers of many species stood at their stations, voices low but tense. News was spreading fast, even through channels meant to be sealed. The Empress stood at the center, tall and still, her presence cutting through the noise. The Council fleets have crossed the outer boundary, an officer reported. They are moving toward human-controlled space in 3 waves. How many? The Empress asked. Enough to end a species, the officer replied. The Empress felt no doubt now. The past was no longer just memory. It was standing in front of her, demanding action. Open a secure channel, she ordered. Bring the human envoy. Moments later, Elias appeared in the air beside her, projected in clear light from his guarded quarters. He looked calm, though his eyes showed focus and urgency. You are moving faster than expected, he said. So are they, the Empress replied. Tell me everything you have not told me yet. Elias nodded once. Humanity knew this moment would come, he said. That is why we prepared in silence. With a gesture, he activated his own projection. New images appeared, hidden star systems, shipyards built into asteroids, fleets masked by deep space distortion. Gasps moved through the room. These are human forces, one officer asked. Yes, Elias answered. They are not large compared to the great empires, but they are built for survival, not dominance. The Empress studied the designs. Human ships were smaller, dense, layered with redundant systems. No single point of failure, no wasted space. You hid all of this, she said. We had to, Elias replied. Every time we grew openly, someone tried to end us. The Empress understood that too well. What is your plan? She asked. Elias looked directly at her. To endure the first strike, he said, and make the second impossible. The words were simple, but the meaning was heavy. The Council fleets would not negotiate once they began. They believed in clean solutions, quiet extermination, no witnesses, no survivors to tell the story unless the story fought back. If I commit my fleets, the Empress said, the Council will declare me in violation of galactic order. Yes, Elias said, and they will expose their true nature to everyone watching. She turned to her commanders. Prepare the 1st and 3rd Dominion fleets, she ordered. They will move to intercept but not engage unless fired upon. Shock rippled through the room. That will place us between the Council and the humans, one commander said carefully. That is the point, the Empress replied. Orders flew. Ships shifted course. Ancient engines awakened. Far away in human space, the first wave arrived. Council warships emerged from folded space with perfect formation. They sent no warnings, no demands. They fired. Human worlds lit up with defensive fields flaring to life. Stations that were thought abandoned suddenly moved, shields unfolding like layered shells. Missiles launched not toward enemy ships, but toward empty space, activating fields that bent gravity and light. Council targeting systems faltered. What is happening? A Council admiral demanded. Humanity answered without words. Their ships did not rush forward. They spread out, pulling enemy fire into carefully planned zones. When human ships were hit, they did not break apart. Damaged sections sealed off, power rerouted, crews moving calmly through drilled routines. Losses happened. Humans died, but humanity did not fall. In the Virelian war room, reports streamed in. "They are holding," an officer said, disbelief clear in their voice. "They were never meant to win outright," Elias said softly, "only to last." The Empress watched the Council fleets push harder, growing frustrated. More firepower, less precision. That was when the second phase began. Human beacons activated across the galaxy, broadcasting on open channels. Not threats, not insults, records, images of early human history. Wars survived, plagues endured, worlds lost and rebuilt. Messages from humans long dead, speaking calmly about sacrifice, warning future generations not to repeat old mistakes. And woven through it all was a simple truth. We remember. Civilians across the galaxy watched. Minor powers paused. Trade fleets slowed. Questions spread faster than fear. The Council tried to shut the signal down. They failed. "This was never just about survival," Elias said to the Empress. "It was about being seen." The Empress felt something shift across the stars. Empires thrived on control of information. Humanity had just broken that control with honesty. "Council command is fracturing," an officer reported. "Some fleets are hesitating." "Good," the Empress said. She stepped forward. "Open my channel," she ordered. Her image appeared across every frequency, clear and undeniable. "I am the Empress of the Virelian Dominion," she said. "I stand between the Council and humanity. Any further attack will be considered an act of war against my empire." Silence followed. Then outrage. Then fear. Council leaders responded with anger, accusing her of betrayal, of weakness, of sentiment. She listened. Then she spoke again. "Centuries ago," she said, "a human saved my life when it was worth nothing to anyone else. Today, I repay that debt." Behind her words, Dominion fleets moved into full view, massive and undeniable. The Council hesitated. That hesitation cost them. Human fleets did not chase fleeing enemies. They focused on disabling command ships, cutting coordination, forcing retreats rather than destruction. It was not mercy, it was strategy. As Council forces pulled back, the galaxy watched something unprecedented. Humans had stood against extinction and survived. Hours later, the fighting slowed, not ended but paused. Lines were redrawn, channels reopened. In her private chamber, the Empress finally allowed herself to sit. Elias stood before her again, this time in person. His face showed exhaustion but also relief. "You have changed the galaxy," she said. "So have you," he replied. She studied him. "You were right," she said. "They feared you," Elias shook his head. "They feared what they could not control," he said. "Memory, continuity, purpose." She nodded slowly. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Elias said, "we finish proving that humanity is not a problem to be erased but a force to be respected." She rose. "Then I will stand with you," she said, "not as repayment, as choice." Outside, stars burned quietly, unaware that history had shifted again. Humanity had been pushed to the edge, and once more they had refused to fall. The galaxy did not return to normal after the fighting slowed. There was no simple reset. Too much had been seen. Too many old beliefs had cracked. In the days that followed, emergency councils formed across known space. Messages crossed borders that had been silent for centuries. Smaller powers asked questions the great empires had avoided for a long time. Why had humanity survived? Why had the Council tried to erase them in silence? And why had the Empress of the Virelian Dominion chosen to stand with them? In the Virelian capital, the Empress stood once more in the grand chamber, but this time the space felt different. The same towering ceiling, the same living throne, yet the weight in the air had shifted. The nobles stood straighter. The whispers were louder, filled with uncertainty instead of certainty. At the center of the chamber stood Elias, not as a prisoner, not as a supplicant, but as a representative. Across the chamber, projections of other leaders flickered into place. Faces of many shapes and forms watched from distant worlds. This was no longer a private matter. The Empress raised her hand, and silence fell. "You have all seen the records," she said. "You have seen the attempted extermination. You have seen humanity endure." A council leader spoke, their voice sharp with restrained anger. "Endure is not the same as belong," they said. "They are dangerous, unpredictable." Elias did not interrupt. He waited. The Empress turned slightly toward him. "Speak," she said. Elias stepped forward. "Humanity has never claimed perfection," he said. "We have failed more times than most species can count. We have destroyed our own worlds. We have nearly ended ourselves." The chamber listened. "But every time," he continued, "we chose to learn instead of vanish." He gestured and a projection appeared. Not ships, not weapons, people, humans from many eras, scientists, farmers, soldiers, children. Old voices recorded long ago. Each one spoke briefly, simple words, warnings, hopes, promises passed forward. "We do not survive because we are strong," Elias said. "We survive because we remember." A murmur spread. One leader leaned forward. "You manipulate emotion," they accused. Elias met their gaze calmly. "No," he said. "We share history. There is a difference." The Empress stepped beside him. "The Council claims to protect galactic stability," she said. "Yet they attempted genocide without debate." Silence followed. "You fear humanity because you cannot predict them," she continued. "But unpredictability is not chaos, it is adaptation." Her voice hardened. "And adaptation is how life survives." A vote was called, not to crown humanity as rulers, not to give them power over others, but to recognize them. The vote passed narrowly. Humanity would not be erased. They would be acknowledged as a sovereign force, protected under shared law, watched, yes, but no longer hunted. When the decision was finalized, something unexpected happened. The Empress stepped down from her throne. Gasps echoed through the chamber. She walked toward Elias and stopped before him. Then she lowered herself. Not fully kneeling as a subject might, but bowing deeply, her head lowered before the human. "I owe my life to humanity," she said clearly, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber and every listening world. "And I owe the future to what they remind us of." The image spread instantly across the galaxy, an Empress bowing to a human. For some, it was shocking. For others, terrifying. For humanity, it was something quieter, validation. Later, in a quiet garden grown within the palace walls, Elias stood beside the Empress. Artificial stars glowed softly above them and water flowed through channels carved with ancient symbols. "You did not have to do that," Elias said. "Yes," she replied. "I did." She looked at him. "Do you know what frightened me most?" she asked. He waited. "Not that humans survived," she said, "but that we forgot what survival truly means." Elias nodded. "Power makes memory lazy," he said. She smiled faintly. "Humans refuse to be lazy," she said. They stood in silence for a while. Beyond the palace, human fleets did not celebrate with parades or songs. They repaired. They recorded. They archived everything that had happened, already preparing for futures they would never personally see. On distant human worlds, children watched the broadcasts. They saw ships holding the line. They saw an Empress bow. They heard voices from the past speak to the present, and they learned. Years passed. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy. They did not rule empires. They became something more uncomfortable, a reminder. Wherever systems failed, humans adapted solutions and shared them freely. Where old grudges threatened war, humans brought records of what endless conflict cost them. Where extinction-level dangers appeared, humans were often the first to arrive, not because they were fearless, but because they remembered what it meant to almost disappear. Other species began to change. Not quickly, not easily, but change started. One day, long after the council crisis had faded into history, the Empress stood once more at the window overlooking the stars. Her empire was stable, stronger even, but no longer blind. A message arrived, from Elias, not the same Elias, but still him. The message was simple. "We're still here." She closed her eyes and felt something warm settle in her chest. Not debt, not obligation, connection. The galaxy would rise and fall. Empires would crumble. New powers would emerge. That had always been true. But now, woven through it all, was something the universe could not easily erase. Humanity, not immortal, not perfect, but remembered. And as long as they remembered, they would endure. And this time, the galaxy would remember them too.